The question that me and my co-founder Max Deutsch asked ourselves was, what type of life do we want to live, right? And for us, the answer is we just want to spend time learning and creating, right?
Valentin Perez, thank you so much for joining me on 20-Minute Leaders. How are you?
Thank you, Michael. I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me, being so generous with your time. You're calling from Los Angeles, and you're actually living with Cliff Weitzman, who I believe was one of the first guests on the show, which is pretty cool.
Amazing. Yeah, we're super
So,
close friends.
from Mexico, went to Brown University, co-president of the entrepreneurship program there, got into startups, worked in quite a few places. One of them is an software engineering intern at Snapchat, which I'd love to hear what that experience was all about. But now, most recently, you are the CEO and co-founder of Monthly, an online education platform uh, focusing on month courses. Right? Did I get that right?
Yeah, co-founder of Monthly, and we do 1 month hands-on online classes. Yeah, taught by big creators and artists.
Amazing, amazing. So, Valentin, before we get into really the depth of Monthly and what you're doing there, I'd love to go back a little bit and talk about your entrepreneurial journey and sort of the steps leading up to your endeavor right now. So, when would you consider you started as an entrepreneur?
Oh, I would say since I can remember, I was just always with the entrepreneurial mindset, and I think it's because of the way that I grew up and the way that my parents raised me. Like one of the earliest questions that I always remember my dad asking myself is, "Would you rather be the tail of a lion or the head of a mouse?" And I would always ironically answer the head of a lion. But for him, he was always like asking that question kind of rhetorically, that it's better to be the head of a mouse, even if it's a small thing. You be the entrepreneur, the person like leading or having your own like charge of your own destiny than being the tail of a bigger organization or some other group. So,
Wow.
uh, ever since I was a kid, I was always working on projects, selling things, like building stuff, like websites, apps, robots, like selling sushi across my neighborhood, like everything that you can imagine. And yeah, and it
So,
just continued
what was the
progressing. I just
motivation for
love
that?
like creating. Sorry.
What was the motivation for doing all those projects? Was it simply to make money, where some people sell lemonade in a lemonade stand, you did other entrepreneurial projects, or was it, or was there other reasons why you went about them?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I was a kid, it was mostly fun, right? It's just like I was just having fun playing around. That's what I found fun, fulfilling. And then it was also about like then started getting into creating value, and helping other people, right? So I see entrepreneurship as just literally a way. It's like you're creating value, right, and you're helping improve other people's lives. And then I think there's like fun, play, creating value, but a big part of it for me too is curiosity and like
Hmm.
learning new things and understanding new parts of the world and like new ideas and experimenting. I think those that and then like I think some other motivators for me are love, just coming like giving love, receiving love, um, uh, gratefulness, always being grateful about what I have and making the most out of the opportunities and chances that I have. Um, and yeah, I think that creating value goes with the desire to be useful, which Yeah, it's just creating value, love, gratefulness, curiosity, play, fun. Yeah.
Right. So you're talking about creating value, love, curiosity. If I recall correctly, one of the things that you also did is send a newsletter with a bunch of gifts, right? Talk to me a little bit about that newsletter.
Yeah. So um, one thing I love doing is curating things. So ever since I was a kid, I had a list of my favorite quotes or like a list of my favorite articles, like, and I always just stored all these things. And I love finding the gems in the internet of like what are the best videos, what are the best articles, what are the best ideas, what are the
Mm,
best books, um, and I just like have a lot of fun doing this. And then part of that is like I also like joined a lot of newsletters. Like I spend a lot of time just learning things online, and like part of that was newsletters. And then I thought like I'm like storing all these things, doing them myself. Why don't I just share all of this that I've accumulated, all of this amazing gems, articles, ideas, habits, etc., and just share them with my friends and family. So I just, as an experiment, I posted like, "Hey, would anyone be interested?" And got like hundreds of messages and comments of people that wanted to like get this newsletter. And I just started sending it, and the premise was, you know, mouth-watering articles, like
right.
juicy books. Yeah, it's like thought-provoking pictures. So it wasn't. It was like across like many different types of media, all of them the best things that I can find, and it wasn't only things that I found throughout the week. It was like over the years and the whole lifetime of like creating all these things, right? So I focused on quality over recency, right?
Hmm.
And I did sprinkle a bit of recency because part of my newsletter was also sending my favorite like songs and new artists that I was finding. So I also like just love making Spotify playlists, for example. Um, and yeah, that was like part of the newsletter, and it actually was extremely fun and rewarding because it was a way to keep in touch with a ton of friends and family and people, right? I only have to write this email once and send it once a week, and it gets to like hundreds of people, and then like a lot of anyone, if they're interested, they can reply or not. But I always had like people sharing back more thoughts, more ideas, like just having conversation. It was just absolute blast
I think
keeping it on.
there's so much ingenuity in that. I took inspiration from a great friend of mine, Drew Bent. I don't know if you got to meet him, but he's a Knight Hennessy scholar at Stanford, and he went to MIT launch with me. And he sent out this year in review, Drew's year in review, as a once a year newsletter. And I started adopting that, doing it more quarterly or biannually, and it was amazing to see how with one email I can reach hundreds of people, and all of a sudden you get the responses, and you're invigorating these connections. And I think that
Yeah.
it's such a wonderful technique to get in touch with people. I'm obviously enjoying meeting new people and maintaining relationships through a show like this. So I'm definitely in favor of all of these different endeavors. Talk to me a little bit about entrepreneurship at Brown. You're at university. What does it mean to be an American college student in America? Right, you're from Mexico, but you're studying college in America, and you're leading an entrepreneurship experience also for other students. What was that about?
Yeah. So for me, I knew that I wanted to get involved with the entrepreneurship scene even before getting to Brown. Once I got to Brown, like that was like the first thing that I did. Like I joined the hackathon and hackathon organizing team because I went to the hackathon as a high schooler before Brown, and so I knew I wanted to be a part of that. And when I got to Brown, like I knew that I wanted to continue working on my own entrepreneurial projects. But I saw super valuable as like meeting all the other entrepreneurs, all the people interested in making things, right? So, what better way than by taking the lead in the entrepreneurship club and finding these people, cultivating these people, and cultivating an environment that would be the best place for entrepreneurship. Like that was my goal. I just wanted to make Brown and a College Hill that has Brown and RISD, the Rhode Island School of Design, as
Mm-hmm.
the best place for entrepreneurship. And yeah, it was like a ton of fun. I like founded 4 different conferences there. Did like founded like a speaker series, like trips to San Francisco, New York to visit alumni, like so many different things. I think what was it like 10x the group size, like double the budget of the entrepreneurship club. Engaged an alumni group, so we had like an alumni presence. Interviewed a new and found a new helped find a new director for the new National Center for Entrepreneurship. Helped think about like the space and etc. So I was super involved in that, and it was an absolutely super fulfilling experience and an amazing learning experience because I saw it as a platform to practice entrepreneurship, right? And it was just
Right.
amazing.
A platform to practice entrepreneurship. I think it reminds me obviously of the program we both did, MIT launch, and it's all about practicing entrepreneurship. It's taking a sandbox that you can't really destroy anything, because the worst thing that could possibly happen is that you'll say, okay, I tried, I failed. By the way, I'm still in a high school slash college, and it's not like I have children to feed or a family to take care of, and I'll move on and take the lessons I learned. So how did that lead up now to monthly, and what are you trying to do there with the education space?
Yeah, so with monthly, what we're doing is we're revolutionizing how people learn online. So like this comes from like as a kid, like always my favorite thing was learning, right? Learning and creating things. So the question, I was working on startups, working on projects, and then I realized that I could be working on anything, right? Like I had the resources, I had the skills. So the question that me and my co-founder Max Deutsch asked ourselves was, what type of life do we want to live, right? And for us, the answer is we just want to spend time learning and creating, right? Like that's what we love. And so, how can we build a system that allows us to live this life and allow other people to live this life as well, right? So, for us, it was like, okay, how do we build the learning platform of our dreams, and who do you want to learn from? How do we make it a sociable, like amazing experience? How do you make it so that you finish with tangible projects? So for our classes, for example, all our classes you finish with something tangible. So in our music production class, you finish with 3 songs that you have created by the end of the month.
Wow.
In our painting class, you finish with a realistic portrait or like a painting that is inspired by your imagination, right, and your background. You can finish with a film, etc. And so these classes, they're different from the normal online classes. Normal online classes usually they might be just a playlist of videos, right, that you watch. But our classes, they have a specific start date and an end date, right? All of them are 1 month, hence the name monthly. And throughout the experience, you're put into a peer group of 20 other students from around the world, right? So you can invite friends to be in the same peer group, but you're in the social experience where you will see what other people are working on. You can give feedback, you receive feedback, see you get inspired, you make new friends. And this peer group also came from at Brown. I started a group called Junto, where every Saturday we would meet at my house in the living room, and we would just talk about life, and like you know things that we were learning. And it was just such an intimate, amazing environment. And I wanted to replicate that within monthly. So hence, like instead of seeing a class that you have like 2,000 students and you don't like really connect with anyone, we split it into peer groups so you can connect with the 20 peers that you're learning with, right? And by the end of the month, you're getting feedback. The creator, the instructor, is also interacting with the students, and then you all finish with something that you share, right? So everyone finishes with something that they can't help but share with all their friends, family, social media, and then that just brings in a lot more people in. um, yeah.
That's amazing. So just to understand a little bit better the context of where the market that monthly is in. So are these mainly for young adults or kids that want to acquire a new skill, a specialized skill that you then provide a month long course that is very intimate, intensive, and then by the end of which they finish with a tangible product. Is that what you're doing?
Yes, we our audience is actually, we've seen people that are 8-year olds to 7-year olds,
Wow.
70-year olds. Like, it's like a huge range of, like, everyone is interested, because our classes are, singing, music production, art, like, even like creative engineering, and etc. Like, we have like a big range of topics. But you're right that the main demographic is, young adults, mostly. They might want to, like, improve their skill, um, but also a lot of the times they're just, they're in their corporate job, and they, like, want to do something more with their life. They want to do something creative, they want to do something cool, they want to do something exciting, or they want to be a part of a community. And this is, like, what we're providing to people, and we see that, you know it's transforming people's lives. People, finish the class, and they're like, wow, this has been the most productive 30 days of my life. Or, I've learned more in this past month than the past 10 years trying to learn to make music. And these are quotes from video testimonials. At this point, we have thousands of video testimonials of people who went out of the way to record themselves of how much they love their experience and post it to YouTube. Um, and like, it's just been super inspirational to see, and, like, to see what people are creating, the connections that they're making. And it's crazy to see that our completion rates for people to finish the classes are 10x what the industry average is for all the online course
Really?
platforms. So, yeah, I think it's like a
Why
lot
do
of
you
it.
think that is? What is the
Yeah, I think
factor?
I think it's a combination of factors, right? So, one, um, these classes, you see the end, like, you see what you're working towards, right? Like, we frame the classes like, this is music production class. You're going to finish with 3 songs, right? And everything in the curriculum is structured to help you achieve that, right? And, like, get to that point, right? So, all the videos, like, the projects, the feedback sessions, and they all build progressively towards the final projects, right? So that's one thing. The other thing is the social aspect, right? You're in a peer group where you see that other people are, like, submitting the projects, like watching the video. So, like, monkey see, monkey do, right? Like,
Right.
um, humans are like, if they see other people doing this, like, they don't want to, like, let them down, even though, they may be strangers, but, like, they're in your peer group. They're like, you're gonna get assigned for feedback, right? So it also helps people, there's deadlines, so that, and the deadlines are not just arbitrary, they're actually, in this case, they're useful, because if you submit in time, the next day you're going to get feedback. If not, you may not get, right, because you didn't submit. So that, then, obviously, the classes are framed as, like, a commitment. So it's not just, maybe I'll just, like, pay for some, like, subscription service that, like, maybe I'll, like, get to this later, like, which usually never happens. This is like, a month that you're going to commit, and there's a start date and a finish date. So mentally, people are prepared for that. And the prices are also high, right? So, there's various reasons why we wanted to price the prices high. One of them is for the commitment, right? Like, we want people to actually commit and follow through and finish the classes. So the classes are priced around usually $279.
Wow.
So, people are, like, serious about it, and, like, they enroll and they go for it. I think those are some
I
of the
think that's just
reasons.
I
Um,
think that's super cool.
yeah. Yeah, and, like, the instructors that we get, like, they're always, big name people are already have big audiences, or very charismatic in the way that they teach. So, like, people are always engaged. The curriculum that we design is, like, very much like, we spend a lot of time being very meticulous about how we design a very effective, engaging curriculum. So that also helps. I think it's just, like, such a big combination of things.
Well, what surprised you the most out of the journey, or even more interesting than that, what lessons did you take with you from your prior entrepreneurial experiences that you're saying like, wow, I'm so glad that I had these experiences at Brown and MIT launch and as a kid, that now at the start of you're saying, I've seen this, I've experienced this, this is how I want to tackle this.
Yeah, I mean, great question. I think there's just endless things and ideas that you can learn from, even, like, from mistakes, from, successes, or anything. I think you can learn. um, I think Are you looking for like a specific like nuggets of advice or like a specific experience that happened? Like what?
I'd love to know how you see your prior entrepreneurial experience folding into or molding into monthly, because a lot of people are saying, "Yeah, I'll defer entrepreneurship to when I'm good and ready. I'll accumulate, professional experiences, and then I'll be an entrepreneur." And here you have an example of somebody who's been an entrepreneur their whole life, leading
Yeah.
up to this moment.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's there. Like, I see it. Anything that comes up, with monthly, like has come up, like in most cases, like before, or even if it hasn't come up, right? You have the muscle and the exercise of being able to figure new things out, right? And
Yeah,
like a lot of it is like pattern recognition, right? And like a lot of patterns, even though they might be like a little slightly different, it's like slightly similar to other things that you have done
right.
before, right? So that exercise and practice of entrepreneurship, I think, is like extremely valuable and fun and rewarding and everything that you want, right? And useful for later. And like, I just see it like everywhere. Like, you know, um, one thing is with um, working with a team, right, and like leading people, right. Like I think that was huge when I was a leader, like co-president of at Brown AP. Others like how do you figure out like how do you code an app and what needs to get built, right? Like for all the apps that I launched, I had before monthly and during my time at Brown and before Brown, I think I had 7 apps in the App Store. So I was like
Wow.
very familiar with the launch process. And then other like learning experiences was like I built something really cool, but then I realized that even though the thing was really cool, it's not going to get to anyone's hands if there's no distribution, right? So learning about distribution, learning about like talking to users and reading between the lines. I think a lot of times you may ask a question, people may say something, but they're really meaning something else, or they have a deeper like desire that they're trying to satisfy. So it's a lot about like that, building up that intuition to being able to identify these things. The classic
I love
like
it.
Henry Ford quote of if you would have asked what people wanted, they would have said faster horses, right? So
Right, right, 100%. Valentin, I'm sad that we only have 20 minutes for this show, but thank you for being so generous with your time. Before we finish, what are 3 words that you would use to describe yourself?
good question. One, I'd say understander. I love to understand things. It's like my favorite thing, with learning. The thing that I like is understanding things. So understanding, like about the world, about myself, about people, about concepts, everything. I just love understanding that. Second one is differinker, and this is like made up word because basically I just made it up. It means like different thinker, right? Like I love to think differently. I like love to just go off the beaten path, like come up with new words, new ideas, new ways of doing
Love it.
things, and that's something that represents that. And then the third one is would be slopey. This is also a made up word, which means that I love focusing on slope more than a y-intercept. And this comes from a quote that I love: is a little bit of slope makes up for a lot of y-intercept, right? So a
I love that.
y-intercept is where you may be, right? And that like if you see 2 lines, like I may not like have it be able to draw this, but usually what matters most is the slope, right? Even if you started, there's a line that started up here, the slope is like this, but you started down here and the slope is like this, it'll cross it like in short amount of time, right? So I think as long as you're focusing on growth and learning, then you can get to
A
anywhere.
hundred
I
percent, and I
think
think that's
that's
extremely. It's even more relevant when you're thinking. People often say that, look, somebody else is already doing this, or somebody else is starting off at a
yeah,
different stage than I am. And it's not about the
yeah,
stage you're starting off. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's about how. It's about the slope, the slope of your trajectory, not about the starting point.
yeah.
The slope takes over very very quickly. Valentin, Thank you very, very much. Enjoy your time in Los Angeles with Cliff. Stay safe and stay healthy, and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for hosting.
Take care.